Charlie and I are no strangers to short selling. I mean, we both
failed at it.
Yeah. We did a reasonable amount of short selling, and I've certainly identified lots of companies that I thought were far overpriced, and I've identified a fair number of companies that I was virtually certain were frauds. We shorted out the general market for about 5 years in the partnership. We borrowed stocks directly from some major universities. We went to Columbia and Harvard and Chicago and different places. We would take their portfolios and we would just say, give us any of the stocks you want to, and then we'll return them to you after a while and we'll pay you a little fee. And then we went long things that we thought were attractive. We did not go short things that we thought were unattractive. We just shorted out the market generally. It was not a big deal, but we probably made some extra money out of it in the 60s. It's not something that would fit what we do these days at all. And generally speaking, I think if you got some very good ideas on businesses that are undervalued, it's really unnecessary to do any shorting out of the market.
We made our money by being long some wonderful businesses. We didn't make it by a long short strategy.
We tried a few times shorting some of those things in our innocence of youth, and it's very tough to make money shorting even the obvious frauds. We are not trying to predict markets. We never will try and predict markets. We really just focus on businesses. We don't care if there's a stock market.
It's ruined a lot of people. It is the sort of thing that you can go broke doing. Being short something where your loss is unlimited is quite different than being long something that you've already paid for. You see way more stocks that are dramatically overvalued in your career than you will see stocks that are dramatically undervalued. I mean, it's the nature of securities markets to occasionally promote various things to the sky, so that securities will frequently sell for 5 or 10 times what they're worth, and they will very, very seldom sell for 20% or 10% of what they're worth. Now, you can run out of money before the promoter runs out of ideas. It is very painful, and in my experience, it's a whole lot easier to make money on the long side. I had one situation, actually an arbitrage situation, when I moved to New York in 1954, so it was about June or July of 1954, that involved a surefire type transaction, an arbitrage transaction. It had to work. But there was a technical wrinkle in it, and I was short something. And I felt like for a short period of time, I felt like Fanova was feeling last fall. I mean, it was very unpleasant. You can't make really big money doing it because you can't expose yourself to the loss that would be there if you did do it on a big scale.
Being short something, which keeps going up because somebody is promoting it in a half-crooked way and you keep losing and they call on you for more margin, it just isn't worth it to have that much irritation in your life. It isn't that hard to make money somewhere else with less irritation.
It would never work on a Berkshire scale anyway. I mean, you could never do it for the kind of money that would be necessary to do it with in order to have a real effect on Berkshire's overall value. So it's not something we think about. We're going to stay away from shorts at Berkshire.
A general liquid market for common stocks creates from time to time, either in sectors of the market or in the whole market, a Ponzi scheme. In other words, you have an automatic process where people get sucked in and other people come in because it worked last month or last year, and it can build to perfectly ridiculous levels, and the levels can last for considerable periods. That's what makes it so dangerous to short stocks, even when they're grossly overvalued. It's hard to know just how overvalued they can become in addition to the overvaluation that exists.
It plays on human nature in certain ways, and it creates its own momentum, and eventually it pops. And nobody knows when it's going to pop, and that's why you can't short. At least we don't find it makes good sense to short those things, but it is recognizable. You know when you're dealing with those kind of crazy things, but you don't know how high they'll go or when it'll end or anything else. All I can say is that I've shorted stocks in my life and had one particularly harrowing experience in 1954. And I can hardly think of a situation where I was wrong if viewed from 10 years later, but I can think of some ones where I was certainly wrong from the view of 10 weeks later, which happened to be the relevant period, and during which my net worth was evaporating and my liquid assets were getting less liquid and so on. So it's all I can tell you, it's very difficult. There was a book written in the late 60s, had a lot of pictures in it. I don't remember the name of it, but it showed all these portraits of all these people that were highly successful in the hedge fund business, but they didn't bring out a second edition. You can't short a lot of something. You can buy till the cows come home if you got the money. You can buy the whole company if need be, but you can't short the whole company. It just takes one to kill you, and you need more and more money as the stock goes up. You don't need more and more money when a stock goes down if you paid for it originally and didn't buy it on margin. You just sit and find out whether you were right or not, but you can't necessarily sit and find out whether you're right on being short a stock.
We have no objection to anybody selling Berkshire short at all. The more shorts, the better, because they have to buy the stock later on, and some of our shareholders may make some money lending. Charlie and I can't do it, but there's nothing I would love better if it were legal than to lend my stock to shorts and have them pay me something for doing it. I might want to get prepaid in certain cases. There's nothing evil per se about, in my view, about selling things short. I would say that it's a very, very tough way to make a living. It's not only often painful financially, it's very painful emotionally, because a stock that you sell short, a stock that you buy at 20 can go down 20 points, and a stock that you sell short at 20 can go up an infinite amount, and you don't think about that until you've gone short and it goes up about 10 or 15 points, and then you don't sleep very well. So it's a very tough way to make a living. There are people on the short side that have done and that do things to try to make stocks go down, some of which are appropriate and some of which are inappropriate. There are people on the long side that have done the same sort of things go on. So I don't see any. I have no axe to grind in the least against short sellers. Over the years, I probably had 100 ideas of things that should be shorted, and I would say that almost every one of them have turned out to be correct. And I'll bet if I'd tried to do it and make money out of it, I probably would have lost money. I would have had no fun, and the opportunity cost, as Charlie said, would have been enormous, because if somebody's running something that's semi-fraudulent, they're probably pretty good at it, and they're working full-time at it, and they've succeeded for a while, and they may keep succeeding. And if they succeed and you go in at X and it goes to 5X, all you're hoping after a while is that it goes back to X again or something of the sort. It's a very tough psychological game to play. Few people may be well suited for it. I would never put any money with a short fund, but not because I would think it would be ethically wrong. I just think that they're unlikely to make money.
That would be one of the most irritating experiences in the world, to figure out something is crooked and foolish and so forth, and then short it at X and have it go to 3X. Now you're watching all these happy crooks splashing around in your money while you're meeting margin calls. Why would you want to go in hailing distance of an experience like that?
I do not see the problem at all with people shorting stocks. I mean, I would welcome people shorting Berkshire Hathaway. The one sure buyer of your stock eventually is somebody who shorted it. I mean, that guy's going to buy it someday. Like I say, if anybody wants to naked short Berkshire Hathaway, they can do it till the cows come home, and we'll be happy to, and we'll have a special meeting for them. The shorts generally have the tougher time of it in this world. I mean, there are more people bulling stocks for phony reasons than there are bearing stocks for phony reasons. So I do not see shorts as any great
threat to the world. If enough people shorted Berkshire stock, they would have to borrow it, and they would pay you to borrow your stock, and that's found money. It's a tough way to make a living. It's very easy to spot phony stocks and promoted stocks, but it's very hard to tell when that'll turn around. And somebody that's promoted a stock to 5 times what it's worth may very well promote it to 10 times what it's worth, and if you're short, that can get very painful.
I have no problem with short selling, and I have no problem with speaking out responsibly about your reasons for doing so, any more than I have on the long side. There have been some very bad practices on the short side, and there have been some very bad practices on the long side in terms of people trying to really spread things that are untrue. But there's probably been more on the long side over the years than on the short side by some margin. Yeah, we had a significant short position some years ago. Last year we had a small short position in 2 currencies, and we made about $100 million in them. But we have not been really active in the foreign exchange market. We think, shouldn't speak for Charlie here on this, but I think that there's no question that the purchasing power of the U.S. dollar will decline over time. The only question is at what rate. But I also think that the purchasing power of most currencies around the world, almost all currencies around the world, will decline. And of course, a short position is just a bet on which one declines at the faster rate. And I don't have a strong conviction on that. I've got some mild feelings about it, but not enough to where I want to back it up with a lot of money. Inflation has not destroyed us. If somebody had said to me in 1930, in addition to this Great Depression you're facing in a world war where it looks like we're even losing for a little while, and all of these terrible things, on top of that dollar that your grandfather's going to hand you when you're born is only going to be worth 6 cents in purchasing power, that might have been discouraging. But overall, we've still done pretty well. So I hate inflation, but we've adapted pretty well to it over the years, and we have not had the total runaway type inflation that really can be upsetting to a society yet, but I think it's something you always have to guard against. Charlie?
No, but God knows where the world is headed. I just think that one way or another the world muddles through. Adam Smith said it very well. He said, a great civilization has a lot of ruin in it. It takes a long time, and there's a lot left after you've been through a good deal of ruin. In fact, it's an easier game than the ordinary process of living and then dying.
Well, I think we'll see a lot of inflation, but if I had a choice, I would rather be born in the United States today than any other place, any other time in history. I don't know of people who I feel would have an edge in trying to do that over the next 10 years, but I do know people where I think they'd have a very significant edge in investing in common stocks, and maybe distressed bonds for that matter too.